Hello everyone, welcome to this particular video on Autodesk Inventor. In this particular video, we'll be taking a critical look at three important 3D modeling tools in Autodesk Inventor, and they are Extrude, Revolve, and Sweep. So first of all, we'll be taking a look at Extrude. So let's get started. Extrude in Autodesk Inventor is very important. So what Extrude does is Extrude is used to convert 2D to 3D by giving it height. If you take a look at this image on our screen, you will see we have three 3D objects. But before we can get to this stage of the modeling, we will first have to draw a 2D. Then the 2D will be converted to a 3D. So now, based on what we have on our screen here, we have a cuboid, a cylinder, then a polygon that has been extruded. Now, what extrude does is it converts our 2D to 3D by giving it height. So for us to be able to draw this cylinder, we'll first have to draw a circle. So extrude converts the circle to 3D to form a cylinder. Similarly, a rectangle has been converted to 3D with extrude to form this cuboid. Similarly with this polygon that has been extruded to form this shape. So what extrude simply does is it converts 2D to 3D by giving it height. Now let's take a practical look at how this works. So now when you open your Autodesk Inventor, now I have to start with the 2D. So I'll come to start 2D sketch. I will select a plane, any of these three default plane based on the orientation of the design I want to draw. Okay, so now once I've picked my orientation plane, then I can now draw a shape, a profile. So for instance, now I draw a circle. I'm not going to be drawing to dimension, so I'll just draw a circle. Our major goal is to understand how extrude works. So I'm just going to draw a circle, then finish sketch. Now by clicking on finish sketch, I'm ready to convert the circle to 3D. So now what extrude simply does is it converts this 2D to 3D by giving it height. So I'm going to click on extrude. When you click on the extrude box, then a short dialog box appears. So now we are going to try and understand what this dialog box, what it means, and how to use it very well. Now on the dialog box, you have two tabs. We have shape and you have more. You have the shape tab and you have the more tab. So we're going to start with the shape tab first. So with the shape tab, the first thing you're going to do is to select your profile. Automatically, our profile has been selected, which is the circle that we had initially. It has been selected automatically. So the profile has been automatically selected. But just in case you have 2, 3, 4 different 2D objects, then you have to manually select which particular 2D object you would like to extrude. So, but for now, because we have just one 2D object, it has been automatically selected. Now, when you go down below, there are two buttons here. One that says solid, then another one that says surface. So now with your extrude, you can either create a solid object or a surface. Now you might want to ask, what's the difference between a solid and a surface? Now a solid creates a 3D object that is filled. Now you can see that the cylinder that is formed here is a 3D object that has a fill. It has a fill. Now when I click on the surface option, now there is no fill. So the surface is like you are using a cardboard. You know, a cardboard does not really have thickness like that, and there is no fill. So now like you're using a cardboard to form a cylinder. So that's how a surface looks. So it's different from a solid. A solid has depth. It has fill. It has fill. It has depth. So it's a solid. So now you can either create a solid or a surface. All depends on what you want. Now we want to make use of solid option. We want to make use of the solid option. Okay. All right. Now here you have four options. You have four options, but out of the four options, the first three are grayed out. Now, because this is our first object, so that is why the first three are grayed out. So we are only left with this, which we are going to be using. Then later on, I'm going to explain what these other three what it does. Now, towards the right, you have four options of directions. So you can either go by your direction one or you switch to direction two. When you switch to direction two, you can see now it's going down. This is our initial profile, which is the circle. So direction one and direction two, it just depends on which direction you would like to extrude to. You want to go upwards or you want to go downwards. We have two other options, symmetric. So with symmetric, it can go partly up, partly down, half equally, equal up, equal down, with reference to the 2D that we had initially. With asymmetric, asymmetric means on two unequal distance. So now we have two distance that are not equal. You can see that the distance towards the upward direction is bigger than the distance towards the downward direction. So now, so that's the difference between these four options. One is going up, the other one is downwards. This third one is equally on both sides, up and down equally. The last one is unequal, up and down, unequal. So now let's go with this first option. First option first. Now at this point here, you have a slot where you can put the value. So depending on the value of the height you want to give the circle, so you can decide to put the height. Do you want it to be 2 inches or 4 inches or 3 inches? So depending on the value of what you want. So let me make this 2.5. You can also decide to drag it graphically. Just in case you are not working with dimension, you might want to also uh, drag this graphically. Drag this graphically. All right. So now we understand the difference between these four options. So let me just put it at 2.5. Then I'm going to accept this. Now you can see now we have a solid object. We have a solid object, and now we have been able to use our extrude to convert our initial circle to a 3D object. Now I'm going to create another extrude on this. So this time I'm going to be I'm going to draw a rectangle or probably something that looks like a square. So now we want to convert this square to a 3D object using extrude. So I click on extrude again. I click on extrude again. Now let's explore other options. Initially, these first three were grayed out, but now it's coming up. Now, so we are now going to try and understand what these first three options what they do. Now, the first one here says join. Then we have a cut. Then we have intersect. Then we have this option here, which is new solid. Now, this join, so what this join does is that it combines this initial extrude it combines it with this new extrude to form a single object. Now, what we have done is these two are actually a single object. They are joined together. That's why it has the name join. That's why it has the name join. So I'm going to undo the process and trying to extrude again. So that's why we have join here. So it means that these two objects, they are the same when you use the join option. Now, the second option is the cut option for extrude. What the cut option does is that it's used to create holo. So it's used to create holo, unlike the join that adds material. The join adds material, the cut removes material. So now when you are using the cut option, then you have to make sure that the second profile is cutting through the initial profile. Initial profile. So that's a cut. So you can either add material with extrude or you cut material with extrude. So I can also use extrude to cut holo material. So extrude can also do that. It can either add material or remove material. So use the cut option to remove material. And be sure that while you are using the cut option, be sure that your direction is cutting through. You have to specify a direction that cuts through the initial material. So that's the difference between join and cut. Now we also have another option called the intersect. The intersect. So what the intersect does is it's going to make use. Now now we have tried to use two extrude. The first one for the cylinder, then the second one for the rectangle that we try to extrude. So what the intersect does is that it takes in what is common between the two extrude. So if I use the intersect, now you can see something that is common between the two extrusion is what it takes. So that's the intersect. All right. Then the last option, which is the new solid. What new solid does, it's quite similar to the join. What it does is these two objects are different. So it has created this differently from this, unlike using the join. So the difference between the join and new solid is that with the join, these two are together. With new solid, this is created separately from this. So that's how to use your extrude in Autodesk Inventor. So you can take your time and explore this different option. Profile for selecting the 2D, then decide on, are you working with a solid or a surface? Most times you want to work with a solid, so choose the solid option. Now, do you want to add material or remove material? If you are adding material, then you should be on join. Then you can use the cut material to create holo material on an existing object. Then intersect is an option you can use if you want to pick two or intersect between two objects. Then join, new solid is an option you can use if you want to create two different objects that are separate. They are not together. So join is the opposite of new solid. So you want to create two objects that are they are connected, but they are two separate objects. So you can use the new solid option. Now you can use this to change directions. Do you want symmetric direction or asymmetric direction? Then you can indicate the distance of your extrusion. Indicate the distance of your extrusion. Then now another option I would like us to explore is by going to the more option here. When you go to the more option, there's an option called taper. Taper. So now let's see what this taper, let's see what we can do with this taper. Okay, so now let's see this taper. So for this taper, I put a value of 0.3. Let me put, okay, 0.9. Let me make it, okay, let me say for instance, now I put 5. Okay, all right. Now you can see that instead of having, okay, a straight object, now this is 0. Now this 0, you can see it extrudes straight up. But once we use taper, the extrusion becomes inclined. Okay, so now, so this is what taper option does. So instead of us having a straight extrusion, so it can actually be tapered. Let me make it 15. Now here you can see what taper can do. So instead of having a straight extrusion, it can actually taper the extrusion at an angle. You can also have a negative taper, for instance, -2. Now you can see what -2, the result -2 is giving us. Let me do -4. Okay, -4, -5. All right, so you can see the result you can achieve with your taper option. So with this, you can see the different options that are available for us with Extrude in Autodesk Inventor. So all depends on what you want to achieve. You can use this option and achieve different results using your Extrude tool in Autodesk Inventor. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if indeed you have, kindly subscribe to this channel to see notifications for new videos. Like this video and add your comments if you have any question. Thank you.